2 jerks, 1 bourbon. Where is your god now?
Good evening, bartender. I'll have a 2 jerks, 1 bourbon. Shaken, not stirred. My name's John Miller.
And I, of course, am Lincoln Chrysler.
Welcome to yet another exciting edition of 2 jerks, 1 bourbon. And to start things off, because we really do never start on a good note, do we?
No, not really. We usually try to start off with the really serious stuff, and then the what the fuck stuff, and then try to finish on something a little bit better.
You know, one of these days we're going to have to reverse that. Because it's super depressing at the beginning of the show, which causes us to drink more, and then by the end of the show we're sloshed. And happy, though. So I guess there's that.
Last week I was 50 Shades of Fucked Up. And it was glorious.
Yes.
And it's probably the most downloaded and listened to episode of the show yet.
Oh, so God, yes.
I don't know what to make of that. But at any rate, it's
clearly
done.
There's a lot of people that want to get you wasted.
Yeah. So, yep, we get to start off a second show in a row with an obituary.
Yeah. Sir Roger Moore.
Roger Moore.
Yes, Sir Roger Moore. That motherfucker got Sir on his name. Sir Roger Moore. Do you expect him to talk? No, you expect him to die of old age. Well, and cancer, but, I mean, the guy was 89. That's old age, man. Yeah, I'm not living to 89.
Yeah,
fuck.
That's way better than Chris Cornell, Prince, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Frickin' got.
Yeah.
89. Can't be pissed about that.
He almost tripled Jesus's frickin' high score. Yeah. So Sir Roger Moore has died. Apparently he had a short but brave battle with cancer, according to his family's Twitter. Roger Moore was in some pretty badass Bond movies. Moonraker, if I had to go with one of the older Bond movies, and by older I mean everybody who isn't Daniel Craig, Moonraker is probably my favorite
out of
just all of them.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that one this weekend, because I remember when we were talking about when we were starting to send each other articles for putting this week's episode together, and you had recommended Moonraker is one to watch, because for those listening, I have never watched a fucking Bond movie in its entirety.
Oh God, you're missing out.
I know. Like, now, I guess I'm that guy. Like, I always go, what the fuck, when somebody says that they've never watched a Star Wars movie or they've never watched a Star Trek movie. And I'm like, how the fuck have you gone through your whole life without watching one? But for me, it's Bond, and Bond is rooted in our pop culture as Trek or Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
There's plenty of people that are as crazy about James Bond as we are about frickin' Luke and Leia. Mostly Leia.
Yeah. Even in her old age, my God, was she badass.
Yes. So, yeah, never seen a Bond movie.
Never seen a Bond movie.
I played the fuck out of Nintendo GoldenEye, though. If that counts for it.
But you've seen a vagina up close and personal, and you've never seen a Bond movie? Like,
yeah.
I thought that was a prerequisite.
Right.
Like, I mean, I'm not mad that I went ahead and watched, like, 10 Bond movies before I ever saw a vagina up close, but dear God, man. If it wasn't for...
Maybe watching the Bond movies are what helped you get the vagina in the first place.
Oh, yeah. There is no motherfucker... I mean, to one extent, like... There's no motherfucker smooth, suave, and sophisticated like James Bond. Like, that guy, it's a superpower. You know, Cyclops shoots shit from his eyes, Wolverine fucking can't die, James Bond is a pussy magnet. It just fucking happens with this guy. His midichlorians must be fucking skyrocketing off the charts, but I digress. Like... the more you get into the character of Bond, you realize that he's actually a raging alcoholic who seeks solace when he can't find it at the bottom of a bottle. He finds it in somebody's bottom. So there's and that's why I like the Daniel Craig Bond so much, because right off the bat with Casino Royale, like, growing up knowing that Bond was a badass, it wasn't until Daniel Craig Casino Royale where it's like, oh my god, there's a level of depth to this guy, and I kind of got the hints at first, but now I fucking see it, and you just, like, full disclosure, Casino Royale made me cry. And it wasn't just because he got hit in the nuts. But if I had to go with non-Daniel Craig best Bond film of all time, it has to be Moonraker. The allure behind the character of James Bond was, here's this super suave guy who's a secret agent. He's a licensed to kill badass, and he has these amazing gadgets that, like, you kind of figure if it wasn't for the gadgets, he wouldn't be as badass, but he'd still be kind of badass. But fuck all of that. Fuck all of your super secret spy training, because it's James Bond in space. And there's a level of insanity that goes along with that. But
this is like what, like a 70s film, 80s, 60s?
1979. Moonraker was from 1979. So we still had just enough of the remnants of the space race in us, but we also were getting to the point where bell-bottoms and cocaine had ruled our lives for the past few years. So there you go, Moonraker. That's not to say the rest of the movies weren't great. They were all great. Moonraker just happened to be my personal favorite, partially, I guess, because it's out in space. Mm-hmm. I'm going through the rest of the list. Live and Let Die was good. The Man with the Golden Gun was good. Octopussy was good. God, it's been a while since I've seen any of these.
Octopussy. That title is pretty on the nose.
Well, that's the other funny thing. Like, you've seen the Austin Powers movies, right?
Yeah, of course.
You know how in the first one, oh God, what was her name? A lot of Fachina.
Yes.
You caught the obvious joke right off the bat, right?
Yeah.
That was a complete throw. Like, everything in Austin Powers was a throwback to the Bond movies. Shit. And of course now, there was one Bond girl who I think her name was Moorhead.
That's great.
Most famously, one of the Connery films, one of the Bond chicks was Pussy Galore.
Yeah,
and this was still when, like, you know, you could call somebody a pussy or a pussycat, and it meant, like, some kind of hip jive jargon thing. Not nowadays where it's like, oh, well, you're a wimp if you're a pussy, you know?
Yeah.
But back in those days, it was just at the point where the audience got it, but the censors probably didn't because they were too old to. So, and that's how you got away with things like Pussy Galore. That's how you got away with some of the you know, the beginning intros or not the beginning intros, but like the title intros when they had the weird special effects and the mostly naked, barely covered up women dancing, and like how they got away with all of this in the 60s, 70s, and 80s is just mind-boggling. But
it does seem like you wouldn't get away with a lot of that shit now in today's politically correct society, like just having the actress called Pussy Galore, and it's not in like a spoof.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Austin Powers got away with all that shit because it was a comedy. It was a spoof. Michael Myers used to be on Saturday Night Live, so like they got away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, we can point to so many things from the past and say, like, you know, they wouldn't survive to nowadays. But there was definitely a lot about the Bond films in general where it's like, it's not that you couldn't get away with it nowadays. Because even Daniel Craig's Bond went ahead and, like, just randomly banged bitches because he fucking could, because he was James Bond. But I think to another extent, you can look at the modern Bond films versus the older Bond films, and, you know, some might call it political correctness, some might call it a maturing, some might call it going with the times, and I think that would be the more vital one, is that if you look at a Bond film, you're looking at a snapshot of the era it was filmed in. You can look at a Bond film and say, that was made in 1979, that was made in 1985, that was made in, you know, after... Oh, shit. Well, there goes my fun for the rest of the night.
What was that?
That was my alcohol.
Oh, no.
Tonight brought to you by Sad Sobriety.
Shit.
Yeah. I'm Italian, so I talk with my hands. That's what happened. I fucking just smacked the fucking glass over. Oh, shit. So my alcohol, like Mr. Moore, are both no longer with us, and this is a sad time. You know, and going back to Sir Roger Moore, Live and Let Die, Man with the Golden Gun, Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker, For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy, A View to Kill. 7 Bond films. That's a hell of a fucking run, considering that, like, Brosnan was only in 3?
Probably something like that.
Oh, jeez.
He wasn't in 7. I know that.
He definitely wasn't in 7.
I told you I'm not going to be of very much help with this James Bond stuff right now.
But I'm telling you, you would definitely appreciate Bond, because it isn't just a level of, it isn't just like, okay, I'm going to be a badass, roll in, punch everybody in the throat, and be out. And you know, even the BBC throws it to to quote the BBC, Sir Roger's Bond was calm and suave, a smooth operator who could seemingly get himself out of a tricky situation with ease. And that was a lot of the appeal, was you had this guy, you know, who he was equal parts super specialized badass and regular Joe at times, you know, and that's one of the best things about the character of Bond, was this could be somebody that you were having a drink with at the bar, and you would never know that he was an international spy. You know, and definitely, I mean, James Bond finds himself in fucking space trying to save the free world. And he's still calm, smooth, and suave about it. Like, there you go. There's Sir Roger Moore being a badass in space, and also being the guy that you could totally have a beer with afterwards.
Yeah, I think I'll enjoy the movie. I'll probably check it out tomorrow while I'm doing laundry. I've definitely got laundry to catch up on from like the last week.
Yeah, because, you know, apparently being naked everywhere is a bad thing.
Yeah, so I've been told.
But yeah, rest in peace, Roger Moore, wherever it is you are.
And of course, we can't just have one tragedy in any given episode of Two Jerks, One Bourbon.
No.
So, let's talk about this Manchester bombing. There was an Ariana Grande concert, and afterwards, like pretty much like right at the end of the concert, there's a big boom. Like, some people thought it was sound equipment going off even. Some people didn't even know it was an explosion. But it was a nail bomb. And the aftermath of that was about 60 people ending up in the hospital in various shades of condition, and I think like 22 dead. And it's always a tragedy when this kind of thing happens.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's adults or whether it's old people or whatnot. In this instance, given the performer involved, a good number of the deceased, I want to say something in the area of like 7 of them, so then put it at roughly a third of the casualties, were children. The youngest was 8. She was at the concert with her mother and her 20-year-old sister, and those two ended up in the hospital, and she ended up in a bag at the age of 8 to see, just because she wanted to go and see a concert with her family, from like a Nickelodeon star that turned into a musician.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty sad thing, and of course the culprit ended up being a British citizen who was descended from Libyan immigrants, had traveled back and forth to Libya multiple times. ISIS, as you might expect, has claimed responsibility for the bombing. They had made like an announcement on the internet the night that it happened, pretty much like, "Fuck yeah, we did it. We did it to the Christians to get revenge for Allah's religion and all that other horseshit that they say." So, yay, great. Your God wants you to kill 8-year-olds. Yeah, go shove your head up your ass and fucking inhale. That's what I got to say about that. And in the aftermath, even up to as recently as today, the British authorities have taken in like 8 to 10 people in connection with this, even though the shithead in question blew himself up with his bomb, as they tend to do. Yeah. The British authorities still track down about another 8 to 10 people who may have been involved in some way, shape, or form. And I want to say they found more. Yeah, they found a working bomb factory at his home. So like he could have. I guess it's just as well that he blew himself up, because he could have made more. Some of the authorities are concerned that maybe he did build more and give it to some more, Islamic radical morons, so that they can do the same thing again later. His younger brother and father live in Libya right now, and they got detained. His older brother was in Manchester and was arrested there. So, yeah, Britain is an island. So, I mean, there's only so many places to hide. There's only so many ways to get off.
Yeah. And at that rate, there's also only so many ways you can try and keep people out. Unless you were to somehow or another create a giant water wall all around the place
and make the fish pay for it.
Yeah, and make the fish pay for it. But how. Realistically speaking, especially on an island like that, like with the United States, we at least have the ability to shut down the border with Mexico, shut down the border with Canada, and then that leaves us 2 water borders. And as an island that basically depends on ships coming in and ships going out, because how else do you get the shit out that you make to sell elsewhere and make money? And then how else do you get in the things that you can't make there? Like, that's going to be tough. And then on top of that, do we... I just re-skimmed the article, but do we know how long this guy's been living in Britain land?
No.
I see where he's traveled to Libya multiple times, and it doesn't. I don't think I saw a tag on how long he's been there, but still, like,
he may have even been born in England, born in Britain, but his parents were from Libya.
Yeah, there might even be that. Like, there's the toughest part about when it comes to the worldwide fight against terror is how do you there's no formula. There's no easily discernible formula that says if this person is from this country and they're roughly this age and they're social outcasts. It's none of that. I mean, we do often see the narrative of like with the Orlando guy. The Orlando guy was allegedly a member of the New York Police Department. He may or may not have been romantically involved with somebody that ended up dying at the nightclub, but that guy didn't fit the profile of the on paper profile of somebody who just randomly walks into a place and either guns people down or blows himself up and guns people down. He was on a couple of terrorism lists, but our government didn't think it was necessary to continue to watch him, so they took him off those lists. Where do you find the criteria for this? And, a lot of people, and wrongly so, a lot of people are pointing to this and saying, his religion made him do it. And that's not the case. We have proof that that's not the case. It's unfortunate that there's a group of people who engage in this activity and who point to their religion and say, this is why we're doing it, but that's like Waco, Texas, David Koresh, there was a religious cult. It was Christian in basis, and there was a bunch of white people there. And then the next thing you know, Janet Reno's sending tanks because the news quoted this guy as saying, "I am God." Like, religious fanaticism isn't going to be too particular about the religion that it decides to get fanatical about.
It would be accurate to say that he did it because of his religion, but his interpretation is not necessarily that one held by all Muslims.
Yeah, because if that was the case, there's, 3 billion people who identify as Muslim around the world? I'm pretty sure it wouldn't just be one random dude bombing himself at an Ariana Grande concert. It would be, we'd all be worshiping the same God as those people, and we'd all be praying the same way those people did, in fear of getting blown up on a regular basis. Like if 3 billion people wanted to force somebody into a religion, they could make it happen.
Look at the Roman Empire. They did a pretty good job of forcing people into their fucking religion.
Oh yeah. The Roman Empire was the creme de la creme of join us or die. We go ahead and we point to, for us Americans, we point to the Pilgrims and say, the Pilgrims left because they were tired of the king telling them which version of God they had to worship that week. And we get that now, and that's one of the reasons why our country was founded on religious freedom. Not only the freedom to practice whatever religion you wanted, but to practice whatever religion you wanted. That's because nobody wants to live like that. So if 3 billion people wanted to coerce us into following their particular religion, and they were using violence and threats of death in order to do it, I'm pretty sure we would all be a part of that religion by now.
It's a possibility. So there are a couple of cool little things that I want to mention. I'm guessing that the average Two Jerks listener is probably not an Ariana Grande fan, or a listener of her music. Can you even name one of her songs?
Honestly, no.
Me neither. I'm only aware of her in passing because I'm just now finishing putting a daughter through college. So when she was 15, 16, there was stuff on TV, I think, that had Ariana Grande in it. And I've got a 9-year-old son. So he has watched plenty of Nickelodeon and such in my presence. So I've been exposed to the name. This girl is about a year older than my daughter. I can only imagine how jacked up she must be over all this. She did cancel a whole shitload of her shows, like through to I think like the beginning of June. And I can understand why. Like she probably needs to take a break. These people were at her concert and they got blown sky high, and it just as easily could have been her if they had decided to do it at a different time or put the bomb in a different place. So I can imagine that she might want to take a little personal time after that and get her shit together. And I hope she doesn't have too much of that survivor's guilt sort of thing that a lot of people tend to get when they survive something really horrible that's taken out a whole bunch of other people. Sometimes the people who made it through it kind of feel bad for surviving. Survivor's guilt is a real thing, and I hope she doesn't end up suffering from too much of that. Although obviously that night and the effects are going to be with her forever. She has bigger balls than a lot of guys I know. She is going to be coming back to Manchester to have a benefit concert in honor of and for the victims and their families. So,
which is huge.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Not just I'm gonna have a benefit show. Like she could have a benefit show and have it in a different location, or she could say, "Damn, this fucking sucks. My next 5 shows, I'm not getting paid. All the money except for the crew and the manager's end of it. All the rest of the money goes to these people and their victims. The proceeds for my next 5 shows." Could do it that way, you know.
Yeah. But
no, she's gonna come back to Manchester and do a show for the victims of the Manchester bombing. So yeah. Still don't know a single one of her songs. But mad respect. She's got balls of steel. I was wondering if something like this would happen. I didn't expect it would happen in Manchester, but my wife had mentioned that she had seen online the other day where somebody said that she was going to pay for all the funerals of the victims. And me and her were talking about it in the car because we went out to dinner last night, and we were talking about it this morning when we were getting ready to go grocery shopping. And we came to the conclusion that that's probably not going to get confirmed or denied, because it's not the sort of thing that anybody with a bit of class would confirm. Yeah, fuck yeah, I'm paid for all those funerals. Look at me, I'm awesome.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's going to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to brag about that.
Yeah. Nobody with a bit of class would do something like that. And obviously, this woman has some class about her. And at the same time, nobody in their right mind, especially no publicist in their right mind, is going to jump on the horn and say, "Fuck no, we ain't paid for that shit. That's a lie." Right. You know, nobody's going to do that either. So I was thinking that it was probably true, but that she's just going to shell out the money undercover, you know, because she doesn't want the glory or anything for it. But This is an even better way to handle it. Yeah, I'm going to do a benefit. Yeah, the proceeds are going to go to the victims. And fuck those terrorist fucks. I'm going to come right back to the same damn place.
Yeah. And, you know, as much as, I mean, we're both grown-ass men. Neither of us listen to her music, clearly, at this rate, because I can't name a song of hers and you can't. But, like, you know, how many times have, and I include myself in this because I have gone ahead and said this myself, you know, if we don't do the thing, then the terrorists win. Well, she's literally embodying that, you know.
Yeah, she is.
Poke fun at the type of music that she plays if you want to, but she's going back to the place where she could have potentially died. You know, who's to say that that guy, you know, maybe that guy thought for a brief second I could make it halfway to the stage, pop myself off, and take this broad out with me and really make a message. Or maybe this guy just went ahead and said, hey, I'm going to go for fucking a high score. You know, there's no way to know whether or not her life was in any particular level of danger throughout the show. So for her to go back to the same city, for her to go ahead and put on a concert, she is literally embodying, if I don't do the thing, then the terrorists win, and I don't want the terrorists to win. You know, even if this was just a lone wolf guy who got it in his head that he needs to blow up some civilians, and even if, you know, it comes out that ISIS didn't really know the guy, they're just claiming responsibility because they know that he can't go ahead and say, no, it was just me. Like, you know, there's a whole lot of variables at play, but at the end of the day, she's going back to a place where she could have potentially either been injured or killed. And there's no guarantee that a similar event couldn't happen again. Obviously, like, you know, as much as we Americans feel safe on our own soil, like, the law enforcement and the government of Britain, they're obviously busting their asses to make sure things like this don't happen. But you can't catch every lone wolf. And that's probably how this guy actually did operate. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to learn that ISIS had no idea who this guy was, and he was just a lone wolf operative.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, there's no guarantee. As fantastic as Britain is when it comes to keeping their own people safe, there's no guarantee that it's you know, she's not going to have a similar event happen next time. It's probably not going to, statistically speaking, but, you know, bravo to her set of fucking brass ones, because shit.
Yeah. It's one way to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. So
yeah.
Good for her. Good for her. And oh hell, I hope she makes some new fans out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of people who aren't really that good at making fans. If Ariana Grande going back to Manchester to do another show is a public relations coup, I would say that body slamming the fuck out of a reporter the day before your election is probably a public relations snafu.
Oh yeah.
Even our great Lord and Savior, our dear leader Donald Trump, for all the things that we can say about him, we don't have audio footage of him whooping a reporter's ass for asking questions. That's one thing Sean Spicer hasn't done.
Yeah, Spicer and Trump have yet to beat the shit out of anybody as far as we know. So at least there's not that. But yeah. Apparently they do it differently in Montana.
Yeah, and the shitty thing about this is that this is the state of Montana's one representative.
The only one.
In the House of Representatives.
The one representative to body slam them all.
Of course they've got 2 senators in the Senate, because every state has 2 senators in the Senate. That's the way the Senate was structured by the Founding Fathers.
Senators are like a participation trophy, if you will. You're guaranteed to get 2 of them.
Yes, but the representatives in the House are chosen based on the population of a state. I forget how many people it is to get 1 representative, but whatever it is, Montana doesn't have enough population to get 2. So they have 1 representative in the House of Representatives, and as of Friday, I think, their 1 representative is Greg the Body Slammer Gianforte. Oh wow, that's kind of funny. I guess I was trying to figure out how bad the other guy had to be if he lost to this guy, but he's a folk singer, a Democratic folk singer.
The other guy was a folk singer? Oh geez.
That's what the article says. I don't know shit about him. Rob Quist. So. At any rate, a large part of this had to do with the fact that 73% of the absentee vote was already in.
Yeah.
I guess he he body slammed the shit out of this guy on Wednesday. On Thursday morning, the polls opened. By this point, he had been charged with misdemeanor assault. Three major newspapers in Montana had pulled their endorsements of him. As you might imagine, if you body slam a journalist and you're a political candidate, the local papers might withdraw their support of your candidacy. Yeah, I'm sure you can see that coming a mile away. So the polls opened on Thursday, so of course the results of the election were announced on Friday. However, 73% of the absentee vote was already in. So that's like 260,000 ballots that they had gotten in out of 358,000 absentee ballots. So this was a special election. It wasn't even time for Montana to elect a new representative, but they already had their current representative, also a Republican, Ryan Zinke, was appointed by the Trump administration to be the United States Secretary of the Interior. So, so basically, as the Secretary of State is to our relations with the outside world, the Secretary of the Interior deals with the inner workings of the states, and I think he has to do with like federal parks and a bunch of other shit, infrastructure type things. But at any rate, the guy that's going to be the Secretary of the Interior now is their old representative. So they had to run a special election, and that's what this was. And I guess you can't get too much more special than whooping a reporter's ass for asking a few questions. That's pretty fucking special. And if that's how this guy solves his problems, like, look, if somebody comes after you physically and you solve that problem with an ass whooping, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want... I think that we should have as few limp-wristed panty wastes in American politics as possible. If somebody comes after you, I'm all about you solving that problem with violence. You didn't start it, and they deserve an ass beating. But if a reporter is asking you questions in a public venue, sometimes reporters get a little aggressive, but if they're not putting their hands on you, they're not offering you violence, and you decide that you want to solve that problem by choke slamming a guy and breaking his glasses, yeah, you suck a little bit. I would be upset if I'd already sent in my absentee ballot and found out, and if I'd sent in my ballot on Monday and on Wednesday he does this shit,
yeah,
I'd be upset.
And it's worth pointing out, like, and I'm totally with you. If somebody throws violence your way, respond with violence. You know, Captain Mal from Firefly. If somebody kills you, you kill him first. You know, we can agree upon that, but you know, it's worth pointing out. Out of the 358,000 absentee ballots. By the time this event had occurred, 260,000 of which were already counted. So let's put that number into perspective. There are, as of 2015, there was 1.033 million people living in the state of Montana. So a quarter of its population had already voted by the time this guy went ahead and body slammed a reporter. You've already acted a fool after you already got votes. Because statistically speaking, he got 50.1% of the overall vote. So in the very least, I mean, it's probably not exact, obviously, but statistically speaking, if you got 50% of the vote, 260,000 people absentee balloted for this election, chances are half of them already voted for him and then realized, oh shit, he beat the crap out of somebody. He body slammed another American citizen. What the actual fuck?
Yeah. I'd be speechlessly pissed.
Yeah, and it's, you're a Game of Thrones fan, right?
Indeed.
I'm not as much. I haven't been able to catch up on it, but at some point, Tyrion Lannister says something along the lines of, you don't prove a guy's lying by cutting out his tongue. That just means you want to silence him because he's going to say something you don't want everybody to hear.
Yes.
Not an exact quote, obviously, but I remember the quote being along those lines.
Yeah.
You don't body slam a reporter because, at that rate, you're basically showing that there is a question that you can't answer without making an ass out of yourself. And at that point, he hadn't even, not without counting the absentee ballots, but at that point, officially, he hasn't even been elected, and he's already failing to respond to a question like somebody who's representing 1 million people should be responding to that question.
This is true.
A lot of people joked about Jesse Ventura being the governor of...
It was Montana, wasn't it?
Was it Montana?
Yeah,
was
I think
it?
so.
Was it? Okay, Google.
Minnesota.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Close
enough. Montana, Minnesota, they're all the way the fuck out there. I'm all the way the fuck over here. But still, people joked about, my governor can kick your governor's ass. But at no point did Jesse Ventura attack somebody who wasn't in a ring with him. At no point did he meet up with somebody that he wasn't supposed to already be going hand to hand with anyways, and then beat the shit out of them. Or at least if he did, it's not something that I remember hearing about. The guy was a professional fucking wrestler. And when he was governor, he failed to go ahead and have a cage match with anybody. Which in retrospect, maybe he fucking should have.
That would have been pretty awesome.
But, you're an elected official, you're representing 1 million people. At some point, when you were still in the, admittedly the end stages of it, but when you were still in the stages of, I hope I get this job, I hope I get this job, I hope I get this job, if I'm interviewing with a guy and, a potential manager or potential company owner or whatever, if I'm interviewing with somebody, I don't want to body slam the secretary in front of him because that means I'm not getting the fucking job. I'm surprised that there's not. I guess laws are only written when they need to be. So I'm kind of surprised, but kind of not, that there's not a law on the books in Montana that says if you beat the shit out of somebody, you forfeit your public office. Maybe that's a law that we need to pass in this country.
Well, who knows what's going to happen next? Because you can. I don't know if state representatives can be impeached. I don't know how that works. But it's a misdemeanor charge, so I don't know how that works. If he gets to keep his office, or if they can get him out of it. Yeah. That'd be another question that I don't have the answer for right now.
And there's another interesting factoid, or another interesting take on this. We'll go ahead and have a political witch hunt if you're getting your dick wet, but body slamming a guy is totally okay.
Yeah.
God bless America.
Yep. So we kind of talked about Star Trek last week.
Yes.
But I think the day the trailer came out was the day we did the show. And
that sounds close enough to being about right.
Since then, we've had about a week of additional reactions to the trailer and to what it looks like this show is going to be. So we kind of got more to talk about, and we didn't get too in depth with it last week, if I remember right. Because I was pretty fucked up. And I think you had 2 beers, so you were pretty fucked. You were pretty fucked up.
I was definitely feeling it. You were definitely feeling it.
Holy shit!
So realistically speaking, when even in our drunken, stupid state, when we discussed the new Star Trek series trailer, that should have been the end of it. Holy shit, there's going to be another Star Trek. This is going to be fucking awesome. It looks badass as hell. All right, let's get on with this. Let me go ahead and, make this the only reason I sign up for the CBS access, whatever the fuck it is. Like, in a perfect world, that would have been the end of the discussion.
Yeah.
But we do not live in a perfect world. We live in a world where, and this is where my my tree hugging goes to the side, but to know that I breathe the same air as people who watched the trailer for Star Trek Discovery and got their fucking feelings hurt about it, I just want to punch their mothers in their throats. I will let go of the tree. I will stop singing Kumbaya. I will take my guitar and I will take it and make it meet their faces, because there's a bunch of fucking people on the internet losing their shit claiming that Star Trek Discovery is envisioning a future where we have a white genocide.
Outstanding.
Yes.
And this is predicated largely in part on the fact that the captain that we've seen in the trailer so far is an Asian female. The first officer that we've seen in the trailer is a black female, and that 2 or 3 members of the crew appear to be aliens. And I will say that while the Asian female captain and the black female first officer are not eyebrow-raising to me, I do find it a little bit, just for a second, eyebrow-raising, the number of aliens in the crew, simply because Spock was the only alien in the original series, and Discovery is supposed to be set 10 years before the original series. Having said that, there is a precedent for alien crew members, because Star Trek Enterprise had not only the Vulcan T'Pol in the science position, but also Phlox, the exchange doctor. So it's not like they have these extra aliens on the ship, and I'm like, oh my god, they're ruining my trek. It's not like that. But of all the things that you could be wondering about with the show, the fact that you've got an Asian female captain and a black female first officer, yeah. If you get bent about that, you Star Trek isn't for you anyway, and you just need to shut the fuck up.
Oh yeah, and I think that's honestly that's the thing that pisses me off the most about this whole fucking ordeal. You can't possibly, and I'm gonna make that fucking concrete statement, you can't possibly tell me that a fucking true Trek fan is capable of having basically racist thoughts.
Yeah, you would think that the kind of people that would say some shit like that probably aren't the kind of people who give a rat's ass about Star Trek in the first place.
Exactly. Gene fucking Roddenberry, universe rest his soul, Gene Roddenberry is quoted as basically saying the day we all take our individual things and celebrate our diversity instead of using it as a means to divide ourselves, that's the day that we realize the utopian future. Like, seriously, the fucking guy went ahead and shit, Kirk was off in space banging green chicks, but God forbid we don't have a white guy as what, the captain, the first officer? Who fucking cares? Yeah. realistically speaking, if you look at it, you don't just have humans. And when you do have humans, you don't just have white people. And when you do have white people, it's not guys who are always the main character or always the main particular person in a situation. How many episodes of Next Generation focused on Crusher, focused on Deanna? How many of those episodes showed the friendship between the two of them? Jadzia Dax. Jadzia Dax is probably one of the most badass characters from Deep Space Nine. She's
and
not
Kira.
Human. Kira definitely, but Kira was more of like a like dark, brooding, reserved badass. Jadzia Dax fucking flopped her badass dick on the table and said, "Stare at it while I yell at you in Klingon." Jadzia Dax was fantastic, and she wasn't even human. Kira Nerys, not a human. T'Pol, granted, since I'm nearing the end of my re-watching through of Enterprise, there's plenty of times where I look at T'Pol and I'm like, what the fuck, did you just get out of high school? But there's been plenty of times where T'Pol was badass as shit. She's Vulcan. If you want to get your fucking dicks bent about how there's no white people out in space, guess what? Humans are a fucking minority. And scientists have already gone ahead and said that a long enough timeline, all of our races are going to mix back into one anyways. So
I was going to mention, I was about to mention that too. I was looking up articles while you were talking, and sometime around between 2040 and 2060, right around 2045, 49% of the U.S. will be white. In 2060, it'll be 44%. In 2060, let's see, I'll be 78. So there's a really good chance that I will live in a U.S. where maybe 4 out of every 10 people in the U.S. are white. And that has to do with things like immigration, has to do with things like interracial, not even necessarily marriages, because you don't have to get married to fuck, interracial relationships. Yeah. So, if we're going to talk about how many white people are on a Star Trek or on a Federation starship, it stands to reason that maybe 2 or 3 out of every 10 are going to be white. Because we're just talking about the U.S. population here, but I'm sure that the Europeans have their own statistics for their own different countries. So it's completely plausible that there wouldn't really be that many white people on a Federation starship. Plenty of humans, mostly humans, especially at the point in Federation history that Discovery is going to be covering. But, I mean, probably not white humans.
You know, to another extent, let's go ahead and throw this bone. Speaking of Enterprise, the augments from Enterprise, not for nothing, they were predominantly white. They were led by a white guy who got killed by another white guy, and the father of all these people was a white guy. But nobody cried about the augments being predominantly white because they were the bad guys. And nobody wanted to make that fucking point. And that's the other thing. It pisses me off that this article that brought this to my attention from Raw Story, which, to be honest, I don't read a whole lot from them anyways, because it's usually just pandering to one point or another. The fact that they mentioned the tweets, and right now my tweets aren't loading because my phone's being upset at me. I have too much porn on it or something. The tweets that they lay out, oh my god, it's white genocide in space. First off, fuck you. You're not a fan of Star Trek. You never have been. You never will be. And quite frankly, if you were in my face and told me you were a fan of Star Trek, I'd probably rip off your head and shit down your neck for lying that badly. Again, fucking Gene Roddenberry didn't sit there and say, as soon as the whites take over, it's going to be a utopia. No, he said as soon as we all embrace our fucking diversities and get over our fucking bitch-ass selves, that's when the human race, humankind, will advance. Not while we're all sitting here fucking comparing ball sizes. No, it's when we all come together and say, hey, we're all human beings, and any alien species could just come along at any minute and fuck us in the ass, not even have the decency to give us a reach around. We gotta prepare for that kind of shit. That's why Independence Day was so great, too. You know, fucking the President of the United States reaches out to all of humanity and says, this is our Independence Day. There was no qualifier to that. It wasn't, oh, well, you know, only if you're white or only if you're American. No. We're humankind. We're battling the either the obvious threat or the perceived threat, as many things in Star Trek were, of aliens kicking our ass and wiping us off of this fucking playing field. We gotta come together, man. So if you're a Star Trek fan, if you claim to be a Star Trek fan, but brown people make you a little upset and you get offended when there's not a white male in the captain's chair, fuck yourself. Fuck yourself with something sharp, pointy, and without lube. And second off, fuck Raw Story for even implying that these fucking useless idiots are Star Trek fans. Because they're not. No true Star Trek fan is going to go ahead and wipe their ass with the memory of Gene Roddenberry by posting shit on Twitter like, the new Star Trek is a white genocide. Because Gene Roddenberry would be eating this shit up if he were still alive today. He'd love this. He'd love the fact that we can have a future where aliens are just fucking everywhere, and we don't care about skin color. You know, Kirk, I firmly believe that Kirk was the epitome of this, because it didn't matter what skin color abroad was. Kirk just wanted to stick his dick in it.
Yeah, pretty much.
A little bit on the borderline sexist take on that, but Kirk was the epitome of the male take on just being accepting of everybody.
You're green? That's cool.
Yeah, can I stick my dick in you? I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care how many antennae you have. I don't care about any of that shit. Can I engage in intercourse with you?
Yeah,
yes? Okay. Let's coexist.
Yeah, seems like it was all consensual. I don't remember Kirk forcing himself at any of these chicks.
Yeah, it's not like Kirk beat an Orion chick and then fucked her. You know, Kirk didn't rape an Orion chick. Kirk didn't rape an Andorian. No, Kirk had sex with aliens.
Yeah. Well, the world will be a much better place when we can get to that point.
Yeah. And at that rate, shit, the first hot Vulcan that goes ahead and walks the planet Earth, I'm going to look at my wife and tell her, have fun, and I'm going to hit it. I'm going to do everything in my power to hit it with the utmost logic I possibly can.
Oh, you might have to wait 7 years.
Oh yeah, that's right. Shit.
Yeah, not to put a damper on a good time. But if it's not the right time of the decade, you might not be getting...
You also got to figure, if these people bang every 7 years, it must be pretty fucking good to make you all right for 7 years.
Yeah, one would hope.
One would hope.
Yeah. So, we're winding down the show. We've got a couple more things to talk about. First, we frequently jokingly refer to ourselves as the greatest show on Earth. That phrase was coined, of course, in reference to the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. I think that's actually like a trademarked thing for them, greatest show on Earth. And at any rate, it's been around for 146 years. So they probably were the greatest show on earth up until last Sunday. 146 years. And they performed their last show about 30 miles east of New York City. Yeah, well, so a lot of it had to do with declining attendance. It's hard for something like a circus. Like a circus is really, they're pretty modern and up to date. You know, they've got like light shows and performers and like scripts that they go off of. But it's hard for something like a circus to compete for the attention span of a kid these days. People and even young adults. If you give me the choice between 2 tickets to the circus and 2 tickets to the new superhero movie, probably really going to want to go see the superhero movie. That's not to say that I don't see the value in the circus. It's a great American pastime. I've been to 1 or 2, and I'll probably take my kid to one if one comes to town, a circus at least once before he hits puberty, because it's pretty cool. They've got animals and they've got acrobats and they've got clowns and all sorts of other shit. But it's really hard. All that stuff has a lot of overhead, and they're traveling around with all of it. So it costs a good amount of money to operate a circus, I'd imagine. So if the ticket sales aren't what they used to be, that's going to contribute to you going out of business. Another interesting part of the whole thing, PETA, yay PETA, has been going after not just the Ringling Brothers circus, but circuses in general, because of course PETA doesn't like animals being treated any kind of way, pretty much. They don't like them wrapped in plastic at the grocery store. They don't like them being raised on farms. They don't like it if you humanely kill them and then make a jacket out of their skin. They don't like it if you treat them well, feed them well, and have them perform in exchange, perform in a circus to make money, some of which is used for the care and feeding of that animal. They're not cool with that either. You just can't make some people happy. There's been plenty of reports from people who have worked with circus animals that say that the animals aren't mistreated, that the animals are well cared for. And on one hand, of course, the circus people are going to say the circus animals are treated well. But they, by and large, seem to perform well in the shows. I don't think that they're getting cattle prodded or frickin' horsewhipped or anything. Yeah. So that was a large part of Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey shutting down, was PETA kicking up a fuss. And they've already said to the media on a couple different occasions pertaining to this final show of the Ringling Brothers, they've already said a couple different times that there's many other animal circuses still touring, and we're coming for all of them if they don't evolve and go animal free. So they don't want any. I can't imagine having a circus and not having some animals.
Exactly.
That's kind of the thing, they've got elephants and tigers, and some of them got bears. And that's just part of going to the circus. And you can have shit like that without the animals getting abused. So, yeah, 146 years, and Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey is gone. Have you ever been to a circus or been to one of their circuses?
I haven't been to one of theirs, but I in my younger years I was at a couple of circuses, and I mean, I can see the appeal. It wasn't exactly my cup of tea. You had clowns, you had animals performing. Like obviously, it was definitely a production. It was a production good enough to last over 100 fucking years. Like, there's car companies that are barely that old.
Yeah.
Let alone a fucking century and a half almost. But, I think the thing that pisses me off the most about this is PETA's sitting there and calling this victory. Like, in one of the tweets from this Pop Crush article, PETA tweeted, after 36 years of PETA protests, which showed the world the plight of the animal captivity, PETA heralds the end of the saddest show on earth. Like, I didn't know you could fit that much fucking bullshit arrogance into 160 characters.
That's a gift.
For as much as everybody likes to point at Donald Trump's 3 a.m. tweets, PETA's got him fucking beat. I don't care which side of the political spectrum you're on. This is some pompous arrogance right here. But, the operation lasted 146 years. Logic would dictate, with everything else aside, logic would dictate that if the animals were poorly treated, they wouldn't be performing well enough to warrant existing for 146 fucking years. Like, there's great businesses that come and go in the span of 40 or 50, let alone 146. Clearly, this circus, be it through management or through talent or a combination of the two, more than likely, this business performed for 146 years. On a long enough timeline, the survival rate of everyone drops to 0, but that's pretty fucking badass. And for a lot of young kids, that's how you get introduced to tigers and lions and elephants, and that's where you become amazed at these creatures. And not for nothing, I think I speak for both of us when I say that PETA is out of their fucking minds.
Yeah.
Listen, I have a dog. It's maybe not the most intelligent dog on the planet. It punches me in the dick every time I get home from work. But you know what? I spoil the shit out of that dog. I'm not always around to play with it. I'm not always around to take it out for walks, but shit, I wrestle with that dog. I give that dog treats when nobody's looking. I make sure that dog has plenty of, cool water to drink, ice cubes to chew on when it's hot. Like, I take good care of my dog. But PETA looks at keeping pets as an abomination. PETA looks at even having a goldfish in a tank as an abomination. If it was up to PETA, we would never hunt animals. We would never again eat animals or their byproducts. So anybody who has a bacon, egg, and cheese, you're fucked. Because there goes your bacon, there goes your egg, and there goes your cheese. You would basically be having toasted bagels.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even have butter, for fuck's sakes. If it was up to PETA, we as human beings who have established themselves, historically speaking, at the top of the food chain, we would have to just let deer roam across our roads. We would have to let wolves into our backyards and not do a thing to them. If it was up to PETA, we, the superior species on this planet, would just lay down and say, okay, animals, it's your turn now. I can't abide by that. That doesn't make a lick of fucking sense to me. And again, we protested for 36 years. Yeah. And again, on a long enough timeline, the survival rate of everyone drops to 0. I could sit there and tell my elderly neighbor, I hope you keel over and die today. When they eventually do, it won't be because of anything that I did. That's most certainly not the case. But, these pompous pricks are celebrating the end of, again, what a lot of children and even a lot of adults, this was their first introduction to animals of, not the garden variety. Not too many people Not too many people are privileged enough to have, or blessed enough to have, depending on how you look at it, to have zoos and aquariums within a reasonable driving distance. You know, there are people who go a very large part of their lives without being introduced to a fucking manatee up close, or a hippo up close, or, you know, random fucking animals up close that aren't just roaming around in your backyard. And a circus is a great way to accomplish some of that. You know, you get to see lions and tigers performing. You get to see elephants performing. That shit's interesting.
Yeah.
You know?
How many people wouldn't give a shit? Like, how many people that really care about these animals wouldn't give a shit if they hadn't seen them in a circus or in an aquarium or at a SeaWorld? You know, just wouldn't have seen them, wouldn't have gotten their imagination captured by them, wouldn't have given a shit about them at all.
To reference something that I said earlier, you know, me, the Joe Blow American citizen, when I think of Afghanistan, I think of basically a giant sandbox. Without the pictures of the place, without, you know, the stories of people who have actually been there, and without video footage of seeing it, I would never think to challenge that idea that I have that all of the Middle East is just a giant desert. But, you know, that's kind of like how it is with these animals. There's a lot of people that if they never experienced a circus or a zoo or anything like that, they wouldn't care about these animals. You know, I never knew that I could get friggin' emotionally invested in the plight of the emperor penguin, but then the BBC put out Planet Earth, and it was fucking phenomenal, and now I care about penguins. I'll never actually, like, touch a penguin, maybe, but penguins are cool little fucking animals, and my wife and kids love them. You know, if it wasn't for the experience of witnessing this animal on screen, witnessing this animal in reality, in real life, I wouldn't give two fucking shits about this animal. If I didn't know about a penguin, I wouldn't care about a penguin. If I didn't know about a honey badger, I wouldn't fucking care about a honey badger and how badass it actually is. But animals are cool as shit. And if it wasn't for us studying them, if it wasn't for us having them in captivity in order to be able to better understand them, to better study them, and to better understand the world that we all share, like, you know, if PETA had their way, Planet Earth would have never happened, zoos wouldn't happen, circuses wouldn't happen, and, you know, the average citizen wouldn't know what a panda bear was, or what an emperor penguin was, or exactly how fucking badass a honey badger was. So we wouldn't know about these things, and we wouldn't care about these things, which would probably thus negate the existence of PETA to begin with.
Yeah.
And, you know, we don't have to bother getting into all of the details of, you know, all of the rumors and you know, suspicious things about PETA and how corrupt of an organization it may or may not actually be. We don't need to bother to cover that. PETA's a bunch of idiots because they think that circuses are unimportant and are abominations and should be demolished. Well, fuck you. I don't subscribe to that religion. Fuck yourself, PETA. I like eating tasty animals. That doesn't mean that I beat pigs in the face. No, I'm going to go ahead and hope that the pig that gave its life so that I can continue to live was treated well, but at no point am I going around punching random chickens in the face until I get an egg out of one of them. That's fucked up.
Yeah. Oh, shit. So, for our last news item, well, somebody managed to fuck up Comic-Con.
Yeah.
For the foreseeable future. At least the Phoenix Comicon, although I'm sure that this will spread the Phoenix police arrested a man armed with 4 firearms and a knife at the Phoenix Comicon on Thursday afternoon, prompting officials to increase security screening and outlaw costume props for the rest of the event. If you have ever been to a comic book convention, or any sort of fandom convention at all, cosplay is a large part of that. Cosplay, for the uninitiated, basically you dress up as characters from your favorite shows, from your favorite movies, from your favorite manga, comic books, whatever. You could be Iron Man, you could be one of the fighters from Neon Genesis Evangelion, anything you want. And a lot of people put a lot of effort into it. I follow a few cosplay designers between Facebook and Instagram, and it's like a second job putting together good costuming. And of course, because we're talking about superheroes and Jedi Masters and bounty hunters and ninjas and shit, a lot of them have weapons. Guns, knives, swords, whatever. And all of that, costume props, mind you, not like if you rock up at a convention with a real sword strapped to your back, you would have had a problem before today. If you showed up and you were cosplaying G.I. Joe and you bring your real M16 with you, you would have had a problem long before today. But it used to be that you could bring props. It would be responsible of you not to bring anything too realistic, because you don't want to scare the shit out of people. You're there to have a good time. Yeah. But you could bring a fake sword, a fake gun, if you're cosplaying, Cable or Ninja Turtle or whatever. And at least for the rest of the duration of the Phoenix Comicon, they were not allowed to bring costume props in. The vendors that were selling such things were allowed to continue selling the props as long as they were still in their packaging. Now, as I'm reading through this article more, we're not just talking about a really nice-looking fake sword. We're talking about foam and cardboard props, to include shields and wands. So not just weapons, but all props. Yeah. The vendors that were selling the prop weapons were going to be allowed to continue selling them as long as the props were sealed, and they told buyers not to take them out of the package until they leave the con. So, as near as they could tell, this was an isolated incident. Their investigation never yielded anybody else as a member. And they were offering refunds. The other thing that they were doing is restricting access to like 3 different places, 3 different ways you could get into the convention. Which, of course, if there was more ways to get in and now there's only 3, that would lead to a lot of delays standing in line. Standing in line is a large part of conventions anyway. You've got to stand in line to get in. You stand in line to get autographs. You probably have to stand in line to get to some of the, what do you call it, panels? That they have. Most of my convention experience has been with horror conventions. So, yeah, I haven't gone to a comic book convention yet, despite Dragon Con happening an hour and a half away. Haven't gone to one yet. Probably next year. Well, this year. I might finally go to one. So, yay! Some fucking idiot hooligan wanted to do that and fucked it up for everybody.
Yeah. And then the worst part of it, according to the article, this guy is taking pictures of the police who are providing security, and he was taking pictures. He was taking pictures of the police, and he was posting it to social media. And he intended, and I'm guessing he probably said it on that social media, intended to do harm to the police officers. Like, fuck off, dude.
I'm reading this one article because I'm finding more because I right before you said it, I remembered hearing something. You know who he wanted to fuck up? He wanted to kill. He told the cops that he was the Punisher.
Oh God.
I'm looking at a picture of this guy. Think Tony Soprano, but at age 25. with long hair and a 5 o'clock shadow. That's what this guy looks like. He's not the fucking Punisher. The only thing this guy is fucking punishing is
his fucking belt.
Yeah. That's the there you go. I sent you a message. So that guy, the only thing that guy is punishing is a fucking Big Mac, but he wanted to take out police officers and the guy that played the Green Ranger in the original Power Rangers, Jason David Frank.
What? Why? Why him? Guns, a knife, and throwing stars.
He set a calendar reminder in his phone to remind him to kill the Green Ranger.
Oh God.
Can you imagine? You're thinking about. Hopefully, this guy gets put away in a mental hospital or something for a while, because this was obviously premeditated. He put all the weaponry together, but then he set a Google calendar reminder, kill Jason Frank at 1300. What the fuck?
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
Records show police received a call from a woman in Hawthorne, California, who received multiple Facebook messages from the idiot stating he had weapons, was threatening to shoot police officers, and had been taking pictures of them. So we have, oh God, what's his name? The guy that shot Reagan, Hinckley?
Yeah.
It's that whole fucking scenario all over again. Oh, God. Why? Why the fuck do you mouth breathers do this shit? I don't even go to Comic-Cons, and I'm upset for the people that go to Comic-Cons and have to deal with bullshit like this fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Seriously, first off, if you're going to go ahead and wish violence upon the police officers that are there to even if you don't believe it, that are there to fucking protect and serve, listen, I get if you've got issues with police officers. We've covered plenty of instances where people should have been slightly more afraid of the police officers because they weren't protecting and serving. They were more shooting first and asking questions later. I get that. But at no point, whether or not I trust police officers, at no point am I going to go ahead and brag about it on social media and try to impress a woman on the other side of the state line. Oh, hey, baby, I'm going to go kill these cops, and you're going to think I'm a stud. Holy fucking shit. Maybe this guy needs to be locked up in an institution, because at no point does that make any fucking sense.
Yeah. And then, yeah, the Green Ranger part of it, that's even funnier.
The Green Ranger? Shit, that guy, what did he do wrong?
Right, the Green Ranger was fucking awesome, and the White Ranger was even more awesome.
Yeah. The day I wake up and realize that I need to kill the Green Ranger in order to get ahead in life, I should probably just go ahead and turn the gun on myself, because there's no way to recover from that bullshit. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you have people who, and I'm sure you've, obviously you follow some cosplayers. There are people who cosplay, and the level of detail they put into their outfits and into their props is more than you would get out of a fucking Hollywood professional movie theater or
no doubt.
movie house. Holy shit! Some of these people. What was it? There was one I saw recently. Did you see Wreck-It Ralph?
No.
One of the characters from Wreck-It Ralph was kind of like like the character from Doom would be. you know, badass, armed to the teeth, let's kill all the aliens kind of thing. That and it was, oh gee, I can't remember her fucking name, but there was a cosplayer who did themselves up like that character from Wreck-It Ralph, which, by the way, yes, it's a Disney film. Go fucking see it. You'll love it. And the level of detail, down to the firearm, down to the apparel, the haircut. Like, you could have sworn that Disney based the character in their movie off of this cosplayer. That's how fucking amazing this cosplayer's work was. And now here you go. You have some dickless shit stain walking around talking about how he's going to kill cops. He's armed to the teeth with fucking throwing stars of all things. And now he's gone ahead and ruined it for, you know, thousands of people who probably just wanted to be, you know, they wanted to play dress up and be their own level of badass. And for what it's worth, that is a level of badass. I couldn't do it. Shit, I think the only thing I'm capable of cosplaying is, you know, name 10 ugly people from your favorite TV show, and I could cosplay all of them. You know, like, there's a level of backbone necessary in order to go ahead and dress up like a character from a show that you like or a movie that you like, and hang out with other people who do it on such a professional level that you would swear that, you know, some Hollywood outfit did them up. Like, I feel bad for those people.
On that note, I think that wraps it up for this evening. Until next time, I'm Lincoln Chrysler.
I'm still John Miller.
Don't take any shit from anybody.
And don't use throwing stars to fucking make a point.
Two Jerks, One Bourbon is a product of the twisted minds of Lincoln Chrysler and John Miller. Feel free to distribute at will. If you like what you've just heard, like our Facebook page at facebook.com/2jerx. You can also subscribe via RSS using the app of your choice, or find us on iTunes. Thanks for listening.